all for taking the time out of your workday to join us. And in the next 25 minutes, Commerce Bank will share the story of their journey to a single unified solution for HCM, payroll, and time. As Workday customer number 43, Commerce Bank has been a terrific partner. They were design partners for Workday Payroll and have the distinction of being the first to go live with Workday Payroll. Graciously joining me today from Commerce Bank are Becky Grob and Cindy Quintana. I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce them. So Becky is the HR Business Line Systems Manager and Officer, and in this role, she provides leadership to the HR systems and support teams. She's been at Commerce Bank since 1995 in payroll and HR systems. She was heavily involved and instrumental in the selection and implementation of Workday. Her areas of expertise include payroll, time tracking, reporting, alerts, notifications, and security. Becky holds a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from Illinois State University. And also joining us is Cindy Quintana, who is the HRMS Manager and Vice President. She provides oversight for the HR systems team. She began her career with Commerce Bank in 1984 as a part-time teller. She had several positions with the bank before moving to Human Resources in 1994. Her HR background includes responsibility for recruitment, retention, employee relations, benefits, training, and team leadership. She was a core member of the Workday selection and implementation team, and her role transitioned to management of HR technologies and systems in 2009. Cindy's areas of expertise include talent management, succession planning, security, employee and manager self-service, and training. And Cindy holds a Bachelor of Science in Human Resource Management from Friends University. And to all of you joining us today, please join the conversation at #WBAY. So with that, I'd like to get us started. And Cindy, could you tell us a little bit about Commerce Bank?
You bet, absolutely. Thank you, Christina. Commerce is really considered a super community bank. We are in the central U.S., that's where our primary footprint is, but we also have a national presence. As indicated on the slide, we have just over 4,800 employees, and we really serve our customers in more than 204 branches throughout Missouri, Kansas, Illinois, Oklahoma, Colorado, and we also have commercial offices in Cincinnati, Nashville, and Dallas. And we pride ourselves in offering a variety of products and services to really meet our customer needs. Not only are those financial products in the area of consumer and commercial, but also we have some very sophisticated payment processing systems, a very broad consumer and commercial product offering, and we're also providing service for private banking, trust, and the capital market areas. And one of the things that we're very proud about at Commerce Bank, we've actually been managed by the Kemper family for over 5 generations, and we can trace our roots back to 1865, which that means this year is our 150th anniversary. And knowing that, of course, that means we're a very long-standing conservative financial institution, and we're really proud of that and the ability that we're still able to evolve and make sure that we're providing products and services to meet our customer needs.
That's great. Maybe we could start with what your systems looked like before you switched to Workday, like what your processes looked like to run payroll, and maybe a little about your year-end process. Becky, maybe you could share some of those thoughts with us.
Sure. So before we had Workday, our payroll was processed on an old mainframe system. We had 5 payroll processors at the time, and everything around our payroll process involved a manual process. Time entry was manual, data changes for staffing events were manual. The system was really not intuitive at all, so we centralized all changes to the payroll department. We physically printed, sorted, and distributed checks and advices for all employees because we didn't have self-service. After payroll, we had lists of reports to run, format, and send, and this took us about 2 days alone for several of us. System releases were very painful and involved IT employees and sometimes even consultants. They were major ordeals. Year-end took hours and hours with endless task lists, including entering tax rates, preparing and loading all of the new benefits, testing and loading new salary changes. Basically, our department could take very little vacation time around the year-end holiday time. In addition to the mainframe for payroll, we had some other homegrown systems, databases, and spreadsheets that we use to manage staffing changes, complete performance reviews, collect merit data, among other things. These bolt-ons took a lot of time and effort. We had to make sure the data was in sync and that everyone had access to the data they needed.
So it definitely sounds like you had some challenges. What were some of your biggest challenges with the technology that you had in place? And really, what were you looking for in a new system? Cindy?
You know, when we started out looking, we really were trying to find that true all-inclusive HR system that was really going to meet all of our needs. As Becky mentioned, we had all these bolt-ons and separate systems, and we really needed to pull everything together. And that meant we were talking about including payroll, benefits, time tracking, recruitment, talent management, really being able to get our arms around everything with a one-stop shop, if you will. And one of the areas that we knew were going to be challenging for us, our employees and managers in regard to self-service really didn't have the capability to do that. And we wanted to be able to provide managers and employees alike access to their information. And we knew that that was going to be a big change management aspect for us. It would also be a bit of a change management aspect for the HR partners, and we did recognize that. However, our HR partners didn't want to be paper pushers, and unfortunately, in the old world, if you will, they were spending a lot of time pulling together data, getting reports, and actually providing that to managers. So they weren't able to really be that strategic partner with the line of businesses that they were supporting. And we wanted to change that. That was one of the items as well. We also wanted to make sure that whatever system we ended up with was going to allow us to configure the system to suit our needs, our timelines, the evolution, you know, as we all are facing every day. What you come in on Monday may be something completely different that you're faced with by Wednesday. So we needed it to be flexible and adaptable. And we definitely wanted to make sure that it was going to fit our initiatives. We did not want to find a system that was going to cause us to mold our needs into the system constraints.
So given the requirements and what you were trying to solve, what did your process look like to evaluate and ultimately select Workday?
You know, and we started this process back in 2008, and we went through a selection process and really narrowed it down to 2 vendors, and of course one of those was Workday. We took the time to go to Pleasanton and sit down and talk with Workday and the Workday team to get a better understanding of really who they were. Again, as I mentioned, this was in 2008. So while Workday was certainly out in the market, they were still a very new name in the area of HR software. Certainly not the people behind Workday, but Workday in and of itself. And in having those conversations and seeing the demonstration, we knew that we really liked the configurability of the system, but frankly what really helped seal the deal for us was the commitment and the dedication and really the knowledge of the Workday team. We felt that they had a very strong desire to provide top-notch customer service and really felt that their product was going to help meet our needs. And we saw some real connections in kind of that culture of the Workday team and our own culture as well here at Commerce Bank. And we really felt like they were in this with us and that they wanted us to be just as successful as we wanted to be. And again, keep in mind, 2008, relatively new player in the marketplace, and we are, as mentioned in the beginning, a conservative financial institution. And, you know, we will admit it was a bit of a leap of faith, but we definitely have been very pleased.
Well, you have definitely been great partners with Workday. So what drove the business thinking around unifying HCM, payroll, and time tracking and the path to your decision?
Well, I think really initially when we first started out looking, we were really thinking more along the lines of replacing our payroll system. But just looking at what all was out there and the products available today, we could see that we could have so much more. So we decided that a whole HCM solution would pull all of our people-centric data into one place, This would allow us to better understand, attract, and retain our internal talent. We wanted to maximize our greatest asset, which really is our employees. We're no different from most organizations that continue to seek more efficient and effective avenues from getting the job done and maintaining a high level of customer service.
Now, this was no small task for Commerce Bank, as you mentioned, Cindy. I mean, it was definitely different from what you had before. You were taking a leap of faith. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your deployment and really how Workday changed your business.
Sure. Well, taking a look at us today shows a very different picture than what we were like before Workday. Our processes today are streamlined in more ways than we ever thought possible. We implemented Workday in 2008, beginning with benefits open enrollment, and then in January 2009, we went live with payroll, and we were the first payroll customer to go live. After that, we slowly started rolling out other functionality. And today, we consider Workday our HR system of record. Besides payroll and benefits, we're using absence management, time tracking, compensation, merit processing, goals and reviews, corrective actions, talent management, including talent profiles, succession plans, talent pools, and we're using onboarding for I-9s and E-Verify. Employees have access 24/7. They don't have to be on the Commerce network, and they can use mobile devices to access much of the data. Today, we have very little data entry by our payroll processing team. So much of their time is spent reviewing data integrity and providing customer service. Soon after our implementation, we were able to reduce our staff to 3 payroll processors, and since then, we've even reduced down now to 2. We've also been able to greatly reduce our number of IT hours. Basically, IT has very little to no involvement in our payroll process, other than they're involved with a couple of integrations that go to some other commerce systems. Year-end for us, it's almost like a non-event. Our task list is reduced. We have no benefit transactions to load or tax changes to make. I mean, the best part for us is that the payroll team can actually take time off. Specifically for the time tracking and payroll piece, we implemented Workday. Since we've implemented Workday, processing time has greatly improved. With Workday's flexibility, we can run a payroll at any time throughout the day in less than an hour, or we can calculate payroll for an individual on the fly in a matter of seconds. We've been able to utilize reporting. We've created many audit reports, data integrity reports as part of our pre- and post-payroll processing. As a result, we've reduced the incidence of errors and thus manual checks. We've also been able to leverage the use of payroll data to share with managers so that they can monitor hours and overtime so that they can make better decisions. At Commerce, we didn't previously have a time and attendance system. We had a manual process where employees would fill out a time card, then we had someone in every branch and every department area designated as a timekeeper who would collect the time cards, review those, transfer that data onto timesheets manually, and then once those were completed, they were mailed internally, interoffice mail to payroll for manual data entry. As you would expect, there were many chances for errors along the way. Today, all of our non-exempt and part-time employees are using Workday time tracking. And there are a couple of really important benefits of time tracking. One is that it puts the full responsibility in the hands of the employee and manager directly and keeps them accountable. And the second is that it's fully integrated, so the data flows automatically based on the configuration that we have defined. And with Workday, we're able to give employees a couple of different options for data entry through time tracking, including mobile. They can use whichever method they like to use, and data entry really just takes a couple minutes each day. Employees have really felt like it's been quick and easy. With the elimination of the data entry by payroll, as well as the elimination of designated timekeepers for each area within the company, I would say we've saved a tremendous amount of hours, which allows employees to focus on more important tasks. We've written numerous reports for managers to use to track time, to show them time card data for their entire department. We've created reports that compare actual hours to scheduled hours so they can make better business decisions. We also have created several automated alert reminders just to keep the process of the time card completion moving along. So it's really been interesting and really actually fun for us to see how this has all evolved.
Yeah, it sounds like a tremendous amount of process improvement throughout. And really, I mean, it was a big change for Commerce Bank and really having that one unified system. Maybe you can talk about, Cindy, you can share how a unified human capital management system with payroll and time tracking has increased that visibility into your organization.
You bet. I'd be glad to. So as Becky mentioned, with the flexibility and configuration, we now can actually change our processes or the system security very quickly and, based on whatever the need may be. We're also using Workday to really enhance some of our communication channels within other lines of businesses throughout the organization outside of HR. And that's one of the benefits that we really fully didn't recognize in the beginning of our journey with Workday, but we're actually utilizing system notifications and alerts to keep communication channels open between ourselves, IT security, as well as some of the areas within the bank when we have new hires or changes. And we're also utilizing faceted search. One of the things that Workday's been able to do is bring, as Becky mentioned, all of our people-centric data into one place. And so by using faceted search, we can now locate employees for new opportunities, whether that's a position or a special project, based on their skills and experience information. And that's something we weren't able to do. We've really been able to find ways to tap into our internal talent in ways that it just wasn't possible. We actually now have an individual on the HR team who's dedicated to tapping into that internal talent and helping us, almost an internal headhunter, if you will, in making sure that we're giving full consideration to the talent within our own walls. And while before we may have had segments of that information, it certainly was not all in one place. And that's really been the beauty for us, because Workday has really provided us with kind of the continuity and access to that critical information. And that's allowed our HR partners to really become that true strategic business partner. They have the capability when they're working with their management teams, again, if that's to fill a position or a special project, or even having those discussions about promotions or development opportunities, they're also able to use the faceted search capability to make sure that we're looking at our employees holistically. One of the other benefits that we've had is moving in the direction of providing more self-service options to our managers and employees. Previous to Workday, our managers and employees really had very little access to their own information, and certainly managers were not able to pull reports or see data. If they needed information, they were emailing or picking up the phone to call their HR partner. They didn't have direct access. Now, both employees and managers really have access 24/7. And as Becky mentioned, not just with the browser version, but also through mobile. And again, that's allowing our HR team to be seen as that strategic partner. It's removed them from the role of some of that administrative work that they may have had to do before, and now they're really focusing in on what's important, which is that discussion with the management team about what we need to do to keep the organization moving forward. It's really giving us that full picture from an employee standpoint and really allowed us to be a little more proactive and helped us in our retention efforts. We now have a better picture of the talent within our walls so that we can make sure that we're doing our due diligence in our recruitment and retention efforts with our employees. One of the other differences that we've recognized with Workday is because of the configurability of the system, because of the ease of use, we've also been able to manage the system ourselves, meaning within the HR team, with very little involvement from our IT resources or even outside resources. That's really been very unique for us. We've really enjoyed having the ability to own it, if you will, so that we're able to define the roadmap. We're able to define when we're going to roll out new pieces of functionality, going through those plans as far as any configuration, and really being able to give back to the organization and trying to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the organization. And Becky, there's several other efficiencies specific to payroll and time tracking. Do you want to share with that?
Sure. So from my perspective, efficiencies around time tracking and payroll have really redefined my department. The configuration and automation have allowed my team to be focused, to go from being focused on data entry to more of a customer service analyst type role. And even more importantly than just my team, for our employees in general, self-service for payroll has given them the ability to see their pay slips, their W-2s, change their direct deposit, and federal tax information 24/7. It's been great.
That's wonderful. One other thing I'd like to ask is that, we mentioned the partnership between Workday and Commerce Bank, and being a design partner is one of those things that's part of that partnership. Tell us about being a design partner for the Affordable Care Act, because this kind of falls into that whole unified system approach, and how Workday helps you to keep up with change.
Yeah, so since we've been on Workday, we've been able to partner with Workday as a design partner for a couple different things. As you said, payroll before and time tracking, and then more recently for the Affordable Care Act functionality, which is a confusing point for everyone. And, being a design partner it's been really rewarding for us. It allows us to really drive the functionality to meet our needs and other customers like us. So we kind of see their design partner philosophy at Workday as a real commitment to their customers.
That's great, and also it allows you to be in control of any of the changes as they come to be. So moving on, tell us a little bit about what's next with Workday.
You bet. As Becky mentioned, the Affordable Care Act for the majority of us is probably still going to be out there for quite some time, and we're really keeping a keen eye on what's to come with that. We know that the reporting requirements are being defined, and we're going to have to tackle that as well. And just really keeping an eye on any changes related to the Affordable Care Act. And just today, our benefits manager over here was sharing with me there's a bit of a rumble that now there may be some change in looking at the requirement to be 30 hours to 40 hours. So again, just kind of keeping up with the evolution of that is certainly going to be on the docket. And for us, right now, we're right in the middle of our annual performance review and merit evaluation process. And the beauty of Workday is that we continue to find ways to incorporate all of this great employee data into our process and into those talent discussions. With Workday, we've got compensation, job and position history, talent information, not only skills and experience, as I mentioned earlier, but also talent pool membership and talent mapping. We do have all of our 9-box talent mapping results in Workday, and we're able to pull that information in and look at that, especially related to anyone that may be tied to succession plans. And development is very important for all of our employees here at Commerce. And we also want to make sure that for those tied to a succession plan that we are doing our due diligence and making sure that we're providing them with development opportunities to prepare them for their future as well. And really having all of our information in one place has allowed our senior leaders to really have that holistic view. And so for us, it's continuing to find ways to position all of this data so that the managers are able to have a better understanding of not only the talent we have, but how can we continue to develop that talent. And that's going to be another big item for us on the roadmap. One of the other areas that we also continue to really promote and utilize is Workday Mobile. You know, I do look at our metrics report on a monthly basis that's provided that you can pull through Workday, and each month I continue to get surprised. The volume of users from a mobile capability has continued to climb each month, and we're really seeing a larger utilization of mobile capabilities. Granted, smartphones is the biggest population, followed in by folks that have tablets, but we've really been marketing that as info on the go and trying to create reports through dashboards that are going to be useful for folks, especially on the iPad. And it's really, especially the mobile, it's really provided us the opportunity for not only employees to kind of keep things moving, if you will, related to whether that's, you know, time tracking or also just requesting time off, but it's really allowing our management team to keep the business going. You know, we continue to market that as info on the go and keeping those approvals moving through the process. We all know that certainly everyone and certainly our management teams are very busy, pulled in multiple directions, often aren't behind a desk and certainly not in front of a PC, but they do have the capability to keep that going using Workday Mobile. And that's another one of the areas that we're going to continue to market as we get into the coming year.
Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of exciting things on the horizon, but also, you know, you made the choice. Really, this started out as looking for a payroll solution, and it turned into really a much bigger project where it was, you know, the unified HCM payroll time tracking all together, and really going from, you know, an older technology to something very different than what you've done before. Could you share any advice with somebody that's looking to take on a similar technology challenge?
Sure. So my advice, and this is just from our experience going through it, is just consider everything that you do today and think about how much of it you're doing is driven by your outdated technology that you have. Think about how those could be done in an environment that's fully configurable and how much of it you really even need to do. So we still, even after being on the system for a number of years now, run across things today that we could do more efficiently, and we're still doing it the old way, and we just kind of laugh about it and then streamline it. But, I mean, it's been fun to discover all these things and have all these cool ways to streamline our processes. And you'll be able to streamline things more than you've ever imagined.
And that's the one thing to add on to Becky's point is, you know, the lesson learned for me as we went through this process was making sure and do your due diligence. Don't discount the level of change management that a system like Workday is going to bring to your organization. Now, granted, for us, we came from a mainframe kind of limited access system. So it really was a huge amount of information from a fire hydrant for our managers, employees, and even, frankly, for the HR team. You know, they now were having access to information 24/7 to get what they need. And we certainly gave consideration to change management, but if I had a do-over, I'd focus a little bit more time and attention in helping our population adjust to the ease of use, the wealth of information, and how they can use that information now that they were able to get to it a little bit more easily. And one of the changes, certainly from when we were kind of going live, again, several years back, the beauty of Workday Security is that you now have the ability to control how much functionality you want to roll out to your organization, and frankly, even the level of access that you provide. And the Workday Security really provides you the ability to be very strategic in that implementation plan. So you can decide how much of that fire hydrant you want to turn on and when you want to add a little more or take a phased approach to something. And that's probably the second piece of advice I'd give is, you know, the Workday side of the coin for us has been the easy part. For us, when you're talking about implementing new functionality, when you're talking about making some changes in your organization, in my perspective, the hard part is sitting down, talking through that, and thinking through your plan. Once you know what you want to do, the configuration on the Workday side, frankly, is the easy part. You're going to be able to knock that out without a problem. but it's really giving that due consideration to how you want things to be, and then giving yourself the opportunity once in a while to take a bit of that risk, meaning, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. If you want to turn on something new or give access to another piece of information, obviously do your due diligence. Testing is very critical, but turn it on. Let your population have access to that report or that field or that piece of data and see how it works. Because the beauty of Workday, if it doesn't hit the target that you were hoping, you simply go and turn it off. So don't be afraid to try things, and don't be afraid to roll out new pieces of functionality. I think you're going to find that your populations will really enjoy it.
Cindy and Becky, thank you so much for sharing the Commerce Bank story and the benefits that you've received, the efficiencies you've gained, and really thank you for your continued partnership with Workday. It's partners like you that really help us to expand our product and make it really the best Workday product that we can. What I'd like to do now is shift over to Q&A so that our audience that's joining us today can ask you some of the questions that they have after hearing your story. So I'm going to start with the first question here, and it's how has Workday helped with tax processing and tax updates?
Sure, I'll take that one. Well, from a tax perspective, I guess, the biggest win for us is if the rate changes are delivered. So basically there are no worries on our end. Workday's been on top of the changes. They're delivered in a timely manner, always like in our weekly service update. We still double check, but really we do minimal formal testing when changes are made. And another real plus for us when implementing is that the integrations to our tax vendor were delivered by Workday, so it really made implementation a breeze.
So the next question I have here is, what were time savings, cost savings gained through Workday, specifically payroll and time tracking?
Okay, I'll take that one too.
Thanks, Becky.
So it's kind of hard really to put a real number to it, but we really think that we're saving thousands of hours company-wide that can be refocused on, the banking business. If you consider all the timekeepers we had in all the departments and everything they were doing, on a weekly, semi-monthly basis, that all adds up to quite a few hours, not to mention the hours saved on the payroll processing time for my team. We've eliminated the timekeepers basically, and time entry by employees just takes a few minutes. It's pretty simple.
That's good to hear. The next question that we have on the list, and I'll probably take it, and Cindy and Becky, you can add color to it, is does Workday offer global HR? And yes, Workday definitely offers a global HR solution. And Cindy and Becky, I don't know if there was anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, we are not global at all, so we really can't add there.
We are in the U.S.
The next question on the list was, did time tracking go live at the same time as payroll, which was 1109?
No, and in fact, time tracking wasn't even delivered until, a couple of years later. And we've actually only been live on time tracking for about a year.
Is it a year now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just add some color to that. Is we built the payroll solution, which Commerce Bank then went live on, and then we proceeded to build time tracking. We're always continuing to build new functionality into Workday, and Commerce Bank did uptake time tracking when it came to be. They were, as they mentioned, design partners for payroll and time tracking both. So really helps to define, really collaboratively define the product. Next question. What is the size of your HRIS within the HR department after deployment? How many employees in IT are dedicated to supporting Workday?
You bet. I'll take that one. we're supporting Workday solely within the HR systems group. The only partnership that we have with anyone in IT would be those folks that are actually supporting our corporate finance division and taking the information that we provide, the general ledger feed from Workday that we provide to them, and being able to support the corporate finance group and utilizing that data. So we really aren't utilizing IT resources. We don't have IT personnel dedicated to HR specifically. We're really doing it ourselves. And so back to the question of the numbers. Becky actually has a team of 5, and she talked about that, 2 of those dedicated to payroll. Another individual on her team is kind of the subject matter expert, if you will, from the payroll and compensation standpoint, and also helping to work through any questions or issues that corporate finance may have and related to relationship to AGL issues. We also have someone on staff who is dedicated to what we call our HR helpline. So if folks are having questions, needing a support question on anything that's going on from an HR technology standpoint, certainly Workday, but any of our other HR technology systems, such as our learning management system or so forth, we also have someone dedicated to that, and someone that's also supporting some of our reporting and the affirmative action planning that we're also doing. So she's actually helping to draft those affirmative action plans. She's doing the regulatory reporting that's required. And then we really have 2 other individuals, Becky would be in addition to that are true Workday support. We've chosen on the team to divide the group up in kind of subject matter experts, if you will. So we have Becky, for instance, is someone who is a go-to and guru when it comes to time tracking and time off plans, as well as security. We have another individual who is really our expert in benefits and integration. We have another individual who's really focused in on some of the talent areas of the system. And I have 2 other individuals, but they are actually supporting systems outside of Workday. So, for instance, our recruitment solution, we're not currently using Workday recruitment, and so he is actually supporting those endeavors. And as I mentioned, our internal LMS system and a few other kind of homegrown systems that we're utilizing, that person is dedicated as well. Now, bear in mind, we've chosen to take kind of the soup to nuts approach, meaning that within my group, we're the ones working with, whether that's our management team or our benefits team, compensation team, regional HR team, we are the ones working with them to identify what their needs are, what's on their roadmap. We then are the ones to come back, look at the Workday product, outline the roadmap, outline new functionality or enhancements or changes that could help support them. And not only kind of coming up with that requirements gathering, actually completing the initial configuration, going through the testing, working with them to test, we're also then going back and creating the training materials and the communication plans. So we're really encompassing all of that. Now, I would tell you that is something I continue to struggle with. I don't know that that's the right structure, candidly, but that's how we've chosen to do it thus far. So we're really covering a lot of bases. We're not just looking at the configuration. That might have been too much information.
No, that was great, because it actually answered a couple of follow-on questions, Cindy, where they asked, how big is your current payroll team, et cetera, and I think you answered that question. We also have questions here on the implementation itself in terms of how long it took to implement payroll and then subsequently time tracking.
Okay, so we were kind of in a unique situation with payroll, and I don't know if realistically this is how it is today, but being the first customer, we really felt like we had a lot of help from Workday. So the product wasn't even delivered until, I guess it was October of 2008. And so we really literally had 3 months to go live. Wow. It was quick. We worked hard, but I wouldn't recommend that short of a time period. And then with time tracking, I really took a phased approach because we didn't, sometimes it's difficult to roll out the functionality to the whole population just because then we're bombarded with calls and things. And we kind of wanted to test out some smaller groups first and make sure it was working like we expected. So we really phased time tracking in over probably a 6 or 8 month period.
The nice thing there is that, well, I guess what you're pointing out is that you really can choose how you deploy Workday. That, you know, in the payroll case, you went big bang. With time tracking, you took a phased approach. So really, you can do that with really any features that Workday introduces.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely.
So there's a question on your reporting. Talk about reporting and how robust it is.
Well, initially when we went live, we thought we were going to allow a lot of people to be able to have access to write reports, but we kind of reeled everybody back in after we, the functionality for someone who's familiar with doing it is really great. I mean, we've been able to do amazing things, but, we use our own calculated fields, custom fields, things like that, which has made it difficult from our perspective to let that go to other users who wouldn't be familiar with what the fields are. And that's probably partially our fault because of what we've named things. If we could do it a cleaner way, we would have. But I think we've delivered some pretty awesome reports.
I would agree with that. I think one of the beauties, my job in managing our HR technologies team is so very easy and simple because of the expertise and the great group of folks that I have. I'm very fortunate from that standpoint, and Becky's right. What we've been able to do from a reporting standpoint is just phenomenal. And because of some of those calculated fields, because of some of our custom fields that we've actually added in as well, we were not comfortable, I was not comfortable opening up reporting to, say, our general HR user, only because they wouldn't have the depth of knowledge of the data and the connections that we do. So what we've chosen to do is we're holding the ability to create reports within the HR systems team. However, we're able to push those out and deliver those through worklets or icons. And so for the HR team, we have a series of reports, and we've just chosen custom reports, and we've chosen to title those HR dash, title name for the report, and then we push those out through an icon. Same thing for managers. We have a variety of manager reports available, and again, from a titling perspective, it's just simply manager dash, whatever the report is, and managers know that they have an icon called Useful Reports. And when they log into Workday, they can go to Useful Reports, they can look down the list of the title, and they're real-world titles, so they're not, techie titles, and they can go and pull the data and information that they need. So we've kind of chosen to leave the reporting in the experts' hands, if you will, but make it very user-friendly from that perspective.
Yeah, and also we have the ability to schedule reports, which is just, we set it up, we schedule it to go to someone, say, in a different line of business, commercial line of business or whatever, and it just runs automatically every month, out of sight, out of mind for us, and it works for them.
Now, I like that title, Useful Reports. That's great. Now, on this reporting theme, Becky, I know alerts and notifications are in your area as well. Maybe you could tell a little bit about how that works with reporting.
Sure. So, an alert is basically a way to get information out to someone. So you can create an alert, but you have to create a report to define your criteria for your alert. So, for example, we have a series, we call them onboarding alerts. So when an employee's been here for, say, 3 days, they get an email based on this report of employees who have been here for 3 days, and it sends out, important information, welcome to Commerce Bank, here's the link for how you go to Workday, here's the link for how you go to our People Place portal. Then, we have a 3-day one, we have a 10-day one that gives them all the information they need about benefits. Then we have a series like a 1-month follow-up. These are the training classes you need to go take, provide the links for those. And then at 1 year, here's happy anniversary or whatever. So, we've been able to build all of this automation in so that we're sending out a consistent message for a number of different things.
And you're delivering these reports to your lines of business, and what are the insights that you hear from your managers about this reporting? I mean, what benefits have they gained?
Let me take a look. Go ahead. So some of the things, keep in mind, in the old world, managers really didn't have access to a lot of information. And one of the beauties that our managers are now finding is, frankly, they're able to, I think, make better decisions because they're able to see more historical information in an easier way on the employees. I mentioned earlier that we're right in the middle of our performance evaluation and merit kind of review process. And one of the things that we've also been able to do is we've created a 5-year comp history. The beauty for us is, of course, we've got 5 years of history now, and so that makes it an easier process as well. But we actually sent out an email message to the managers letting them know that as they're going through their evaluation, in this email we actually embedded I call it a smart link. I believe the right terminology is a deep link. But within that email message, managers can simply click the link in the email and be able to enter the employee name and pull up that 5-year comp history. And for the most part, I think managers are really valuing the opportunity to get the information that they need to help them make those better decisions.
So other questions that we have were, how do you handle, mobile timekeeping in the sense of, do people sign in when in fact they're not really working, et cetera?
One of the things that we've done, and for our time tracking, I believe there's the option to do the true clock in, clock out, if you will. Mm-hmm. We're actually using more of a time card methodology with that, to where people are actually recording their times in and times out. And, when we went to Workday, one of the things that we said all along is a system or technology is never intended to replace common sense and good, solid management. And so we still expect our managers to be in tune to their work groups enough to identify if someone is misusing the technology, or, if they are, like you said, clocking in from home and not really in the office. We're still expecting those managers to have that accountability and to be paying attention to what's going on. And, we definitely have the expectation that people are going to use the technology in the proper manner, and if needed, we'll address it otherwise. So it's not been an issue, I would say, up to this point.
Yeah, because really they're just self-reporting. We felt that since we aren't currently using single sign-on just because of some security issues internally, we didn't want to use the clock in and clock out feature because employees couldn't get into Workday fast enough, we felt. We are just using self-reporting. So, many times an employee won't go in until the end of the day, and they'll record their in time, out time to lunch, in time, and then out time for the day. They'll save that up and enter it once a day. So that's not really a concern for us.
And culturally, even before Workday, we were using time cards, not with a time clock, just an actual time card. So culturally, that really wasn't a deviation for us.
Thank you. From a Workday perspective, I'm just going to add on that, if you were doing, our customers who do check in, check out, do have some security controls as to where people can check in and check out. So we do allow for security around that as well. We have time for a few more questions. Does Workday help with workforce and succession planning?
You want me to go?
Yeah, okay. You're the expert in that.
Yeah. From a succession planning standpoint, absolutely. One of the things several years back, as I grew a better understanding of the Workday system and the capabilities, all along I felt that we could really, my vision, if you will, was being able to have all of the employee information in one system where we could better utilize that data, make better decisions, making sure that we were aligning people more appropriately from a succession planning standpoint. And I think the beauty is we're realizing some of that. We now are able, when our senior team, when our executive management group are looking at our employee base, they now really do have the capability to look at the talent pools that folks may be assigned to. They're able to look at leadership development programs that they've attended. They're able to look at their positions, their skills, their experience. You know, we're really able to look at that more holistically, all the pieces of the puzzle, and able to make those better decisions. One of the beauties that we've actually been able to see with Workday as well is the ability to transfer or utilize talent in different ways. And what I mean by that is through the talent profile process where individuals are entering their information, including if they're interested in relocating or traveling, we've really been able, through faceted search, to identify individuals that may be candidates for other positions in other markets and now have some of those basic pieces of information if they're willing to relocate or looking for other opportunities. And that's able to take the pool from 4,800 plus down, you know, to maybe 2025, that then our HR team, this internal talent manager, can have some discussions to better understand what those employees are looking for and try to have that match in a little quicker way. And that's something that we've really been able to do in the last year, year and a half, I'd say, certainly in the past year, and been able to move people throughout the company because of our ability to understand what to do.
A few more questions. Can you help us understand how many employees you have and how long it takes for you to process payroll now that you're on Workday?
Well, we have about 4,800 employees, and like an actual pay, I don't know if they mean actually from payday to payday or start to finish as far as the actual Workday process, but we do use retro, which is a process that's related to payroll that will go back and capture prior entries. So like time off entries that were for the prior period and they weren't entered into Workday yet, it will go back and capture that. The retro process for us, and because all of our time tracking is considered retro because of how our pay schedule is structured, that piece really takes about an hour or an hour and 10 minutes or so. And we run that every night. And then after that finishes, we run a payroll process. And the payroll process takes about an hour as well. But then, you know, when we're ready to close out payroll and go ahead and produce the checks, which we have only for less than 100 checks now, it just, you know, takes a couple hours to complete the settlement process and make sure everything's fine, double check balances and everything. So it's really, it's a lot quicker than what we did before.
That's great. This is the last question, since we're coming up on the top of the hour here. Do exempt and non-exempt staff use time and attendance in the same way?
Yes. Well, yeah, it's just that different codes are available or time off types. They use request time off. Now, our exempt staff doesn't record a time card, but everyone utilizes time off in the same way.
That's great. Well, Cindy and Becky, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with everyone Commerce Bank's story, just your journey from, you know, the system that you had to a unified payroll time solution, and really just sharing your story with us and for being such a great Workday partner. And to all of you on the line, thank you for sharing part of your Workday with us today. Thank you all.